You've always thought motorcycles were cool. I mean, come on, what's not to love about them? The wind in your hair, the power of the engine, handling, just all of it. Just so exciting. And you want to get a motorcycle, but you've got some questions and you don't know where to start. So I'm here today to help with some frequently asked questions that I get. I've been riding for about 20 years. I've had people asking me questions, things like, what size bike should I get? What kind of bike should I get? Where should I get it? How should I get it? What do I do? Let's answer some of those questions today with the top 6 frequently asked questions I get as a motorcyclist. The first question you should really answer is, what type of motorcycle do you want to get? There's a huge variety. You could do adventure bikes, you could do enduro bikes, sport bikes, cruisers, choppers. There's a whole gambit of different types of motorcycles to get. Now, this is a hard question to answer because it depends a lot on you. It depends a lot on your community, who you want to be around, what style you want to portray, or what style you convey as yourself. When I first got into motorcycling, actually this was my first bike here, was a dirt bike. So dirt bike was a great place for me to start because I knew that I wanted to ride trails. I knew that I had friends that rode dirt bikes, and honestly, I won it from Nintendo. So I didn't have much choice in the say. I got the bike and I love it. And that's really what started my path on motorcycling, was this bike right here. But my first street bike, when I was in college, I realized that I wanted to get out there and I wanted to ride around the street. I wanted to commute to classes. I wanted to commute to work, and I just wanted to have fun. I was living in Daytona Beach and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started shopping around. This was before the days of Facebook Marketplace. This was going to different dealerships, sitting on bikes, seeing what felt comfortable. That's where I would suggest you start. Look at what you think is comfortable. And when you're looking at them, think about how you want to ride. You could sit on a bike and say, oh, this is super comfortable, I love it, but it could be a 1300cc cruiser and you know that you want to do short rides around the city. That might not be the best bike for you. So when you're looking at what feels comfortable, also look at the intended purpose. The street bike that I have right now is this Versa 650 back here. My intended purpose was to go on longer rides and also access roads through the national forest. So I couldn't take a cruiser, I couldn't take a sport bike. I needed something with a bit more suspension. I needed more of an upright seat, ability to stand on the bike. Those are things that I looked for when looking at that type of motorcycle. So look at those things as you're getting started in your search. That'll help kind of narrow it down. One other thing that'll really help answer that question is your friends, your group, the people that you want to ride with. Are they out there on cruisers? Are they going on 100-mile long rides every weekend and you want to join in that fun? Are they doing track days and you need a sport bike with full leathers? What kind of thing do you want to do with your friends? What community do you want to be a part of? It is a camaraderie. I mean, we're all on motorcycles. We're all out there to have fun and have that same passion. But having a community, a group of people that you can be with and be yourself with and have fun with is important too. So think about that as well. What type of riding do you want to do? What is it you need the bike to do? And who do you want to be around? Those are 3 things that will help you answer the question of what type of bike to get before you start your search. Keep in mind your size too. Let's say you're 5 feet tall. You're not going to be able to ride on an adventure bike because the seat height is almost as tall as you are. You're going to want to look for something with a lower seat height, something that you're comfortable with. Realistically, when you're on the bike, you don't need to be able to flat foot both of your feet on the ground, but you should be able to at least touch your toes to the ground. It's a safety thing. I get it. If you're short, you could always lower a bike. There are options of that. But when looking at your first motorcycle, make sure you're comfortable standing on it. That when you're at a stoplight, you can safely stop and put your feet down and not tip over. I've seen it happen where somebody gets a bike and they're not used to the weight. They're not used to the height. They get to a stop sign. Maybe it's on a little bit of a hill and they go to put their feet down and they can't reach. That bike might just be a little bit too big for them. So consider your size, your height, your skill level, your experience with balance. Those are all important things to think about when you're looking for your first bike. So now you've decided what kind of bike you want to get. Where do you go to find it? Do you look for a used bike? Do you look for a new bike? That is a great question of, do you go with a new bike and get a factory warranty, something that's never been ridden, never been dropped before, or do you buy used? Save some money, but potentially inherit somebody else's problems. There's pros and cons to both. So my advice is, if you're in a position where you have the ability to turn some wrenches, or you have a friend who knows a little bit about motorcycles, buy used for your first bike. There is a very, very strong possibility that you lay the bike over. Hopefully it's a slow speed turn. Hopefully it's at a stoplight. Hopefully it's at your mailbox. Not saying that's happened to me, but you may drop the bike. You may feel less guilty about dropping a used bike than a new bike. Plus, typically used bikes cost less than a new bike do. So there's some investment difference there. The bikes typically depreciate in value. You're not going to make a ton of money when you go to sell a bike, but if you buy a used bike, you will lose less money just with the depreciating asset than if you buy a new bike. There's that old theory that once you drive a car off the lot, it loses 10 to 20% of its value. That's absolutely correct. It also happens with motorcycles. Now, if you're in a situation where you don't know much about motorcycles, you don't have any friends that ride, and you're looking to get something for the first time and you just need that confidence of knowing this bike will work, new is the best way to go for that. A lot of the manufacturers are offering warranties now. You may have seen my video about CF Moto that's doing a 2-year warranty in the US on their vehicles. That's very useful if you're brand new to motorcycling. Having that warranty and that peace of mind to say, if something goes wrong, I can take it back to the place I got it from, to the dealership, and say, it's doing something. I don't know what. Fix it. If you need that peace of mind of a new vehicle, buy new. If you have the ability to work on something or friends that'll help you, buy used. So that leads to the next question. Where do you go to buy the motorcycle? Do you go to a dealership, or do you buy from Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, all those other online platforms to buy used vehicles from? Let's talk about that for a second. The answer to that question of whether or not you buy from a dealership or buy from private party really does depend on whether or not you look to go buy new or buy used. If you're going new, there's really only one option. You have to go to a dealership to buy a new bike. But if you're buying used, you do have the option. You have the option to buy private sale. You have the option to buy from a dealership. There's pros and cons to buying from private sale. Most of the vehicles that I buy private sale. Going back to, again, the fact that I know what to look for. If you have never bought a motorcycle before, if you've barely ever even been on a motorcycle before, and you decide to do private party sale, please keep these things in mind. Bring a friend with you so that they can look over the bike. They can tell you, yes, this bike is clear, this is good to go. Make sure you meet in a public place, and make sure you understand the risks of buying from private sale. Now, you could also buy used from a dealership. The big pro there is that the dealership should look over the bike before they put it on the sales floor. They should do things like oil changes, check the tire pressures, maybe change some of the parts that need to be replaced, like brake pads, chains, tires. Those are all things that are wearable items that they should take care of before they sell the bike to you, the consumer. The downside to buying a used bike from a dealership is the cost. You're paying for all those things that may or may not need to be done. And you're paying the dock fees, you're paying the dealership fees, you're paying for them to keep their lights on. I fully support there being dealerships. They have access to parts, access to gear, they can service the bikes for you, support your local dealerships when you can, but look for a good deal and look for a dealership that you can trust too. Similar to the private sale, not the same risks, but be cautious of what type of deal you agree to. Make sure you know what the market says the bike is worth. Look on websites like KBB, that's the Kelley Blue Book. Look on NADA. You can find values for private sale and dealership sale in those websites. Make sure you know what to expect. Do your research on the bike that you want to buy, the specific model and year that you're looking to buy. That way you know that you have a good deal when you're at the dealership and they're not just trying to take advantage of you because they have the bike that you want right now. Don't get emotionally attached to it before you buy it. Now that you've decided what type of bike you want to get, what model of bike you want to get, where you want to get it, the important question to ask now is, how do you pay for it? Do you finance the bike or do you pay cash? I'm a huge proponent of paying cash for toys. Motorcycles are a hobby. They're not a primary vehicle. They're not something that people are using to commute on a regular basis to work. If you do, that's awesome. Highly encourage it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cases to be said that make a motorcycle a secondary vehicle. Because of that, interest rates typically are higher on financing a new motorcycle. You can also finance used motorcycles, but the rates are even higher then. If you do go to finance a motorcycle, look at your credit unions, look at something that has a low interest rate, low risk loan. That's my experience. I like paying cash for vehicles. I've only financed one motorcycle out of the 60 some odd motorcycles I've owned, and that was because I bought brand new. They gave me a fantastic rate and I paid it off within 4 months. So if you can do those things, then cool, that's great. But in most cases, people who are financing vehicles, they take a lot longer to pay off that rate and they pay more than they need to because of the interest. Be leery of financing a motorcycle. If you do, please get gap insurance too. Gap insurance will help cover anything in the event that something goes wrong with the vehicle. If you end up in an accident, the gap insurance will help cover any losses that the insurance doesn't pay out so that you're not paying on a vehicle you no longer own. You've decided what type of motorcycle to get, what model motorcycle to get, where to get it, and how to pay for it. You've bought the motorcycle. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. You're a motorcyclist. Speaking of which, WeRideTwo is a community of riders. The story behind it is that there's camaraderie with motorcyclists. Doesn't matter what you ride. You could ride dirt bikes, you could ride adventure bikes, you could ride little sport bikes, you could ride race bikes, whatever. We're all a family. And because of that, we'd like to give you a discount. Now that you're a motorcyclist, click the link below to buy a shirt or a hat, save 40% off. We'll have it shipped out your door and you can be proud to be on two wheels. We all ride too. Stick together. Congratulations on your new motorcycle. It's exciting, it's fun, it's invigorating. What can you do about the bike itself if something goes wrong? What kind of maintenance can you do by yourself as a DIY mechanic? Honestly, a lot. Motorcycles are fairly simple. There's not a lot of pieces involved in them. There's not a lot of technology. There is some if you buy like the super sports that have traction control, throttle control, fly-by-wire, all that stuff. Yes, those are hard things to work on. But for the most part, the maintenance that you will be doing as a motorcycle owner is simple. Things like oil changes, brake changes, chain maintenance, cable maintenance. Those are all things you can do yourself very easily. Highly recommend joining some forums for your model specific motorcycle, because in those forums you can typically find service manuals or people who have instructions on how to do certain things. Facebook groups are great. I love those. They're good for fast responses, but you typically find a gambit of responses of things, whereas you can find step-by-step instructions on how to change the oil for a Z125 on the Z125 forum. Realistically, you can own a motorcycle for years and not have to take it to a dealership for service. I do my own service work and I am not a trained mechanic. I didn't go to school for mechanic work. I've only done mechanic work on my own vehicles to learn about how to do it. And it started with this 125. The more I broke things, the more I learned how to fix them with quite literally just a service manual. Paper manuals are worth their weight in gold. You can still buy these. You can buy them online on Amazon. This is the manual for my KX125. I've had this book for over 20 years and it has seen a lot of stuff. This has been in my garage for 20 plus years. It has seen blood, sweat, beer, oil, all kinds of stuff on it. Highly recommend getting a service manual and do your own service. But what if you don't have any tools? What if you don't have a garage shop like this and you're not on a lift? Or that's fine. You don't need that. I'll look through Amazon. I'll find a link and I'll put it below for a basic mechanic set to get you started. If it's your first bike and you're just doing things like oil changes and just general maintenance, what I find below will be useful for you. And I'll try to find the best deal. That way you can get a tool set and get started. My first mechanic set, I quite literally went to Walmart and bought a toolkit. I think it was like 40 bucks and it had things like sockets, pliers, screwdrivers, Allen keys, and that's really it. Motorcycles are very simple. It's just in your head that it's too hard to work on. If you've got that service manual and you've got some cognitive ability, you can do it. Have faith in yourself. When I ask my local group of riders and friends, what's a commonly asked question as you're new to motorcycling? And a very interesting one came up. And I do get asked this question a lot, but I wouldn't have put it in the top 5. So this is number 6 of frequently asked questions for new motorcyclists. When should I go on my first group ride? We were talking about it before, about how it's a community of riders. You can make great friends and you can meet people through motorcycling. Wholeheartedly agree. It is an awesome community to be a part of. People always want to get on a motorcycle and say, okay, let's go ride with friends. Let's get out there and ride with my buddies. But do you want to do that when you first get the bike? Are you going to meet at the dealership and it's your first time ever riding on the bike and you take off with 20, 30 people? that may not be the best idea. We'll talk about why. Something I've said a lot over the years, especially when talking to new riders, is ride your own ride. Part of the problem with doing a group ride when you first get started is that you don't know what your ride is. You're not comfortable yet. You might just be brand new to motorcycling and just have taken your motorcycle safety foundation class. If that's the case, and you put 15 bikes around you, you're gonna tense up, you're gonna get scared, and you're not gonna be comfortable. It's not gonna be fun, and it's gonna be dangerous for you and other people involved. So my suggestion, if you're brand new to riding, go cruise around, maybe with 1 or 2 other friends that you trust, and they know that you're a new rider. You don't want people to be buzzing by you doing triple digits when you're just cruising at the speed limit. There's a lot of riders out there that want to show off. They want to show their ego, and they want to make you feel like a newbie. You don't want that. What you want is people to encourage you to be safe, encourage you to have fun, and encourage you to make the right decisions. And I'm hoping that by me saying this, you're not turned off from group rides. Group rides are great. I've done hundreds of group rides, some with 5 motorcycles, some with 300 motorcycles. Group rides are a lot of fun. Just be safe. Understand that other people may not follow the laws. That doesn't mean you have to break the law. That doesn't mean you have to lane split. It doesn't mean you have to run red lights. Ride your ride and be safe for you. Have fun so you can live to ride the next day. If you're a new motorcyclist and I didn't answer your question, please leave additional questions below. I will respond to them, and if I get enough of the same question, I'll make a video just answering that question. I'll do my best to help you out. Please enjoy your motorcycle. Have fun, stay safe, and keep it on 2 wheels. Unless, of course, you're an experienced rider and you know how to control the clutch and the balance point and you can do some wheelies. Then it's okay to be on 1 wheel if it's legally okay to do so. Closed lots, safe locations. Stay safe.